Okay, welcome back to session 2 of module 1, Basics of Cybersecurity. I'm Attaullah, and today we will dive into cybersecurity. We will explore various threats, actors that can compromise our digital assets. Okay, so without wasting our time, let's see the outline of this talk. Okay, so first we will start by defining what we mean by secure, and then we will be delving into the basics of cybersecurity. Okay, and next, for example, we will be talking about threats and threat actors that could actually try to hack our systems, our networks, and we will talk about uh, some measures that could be taken to avoid these attacks, and we will conclude with the summary and the way forward for this presentation. Okay, so how do we protect our valuable assets? Okay, what does secure mean? Let's start from this point. What does secure mean? Secure, in the context of security, it means you need to protect your resources against unauthorized access, alteration, theft, or physical damage. So here in these figures, you see your resources, for example, they are secured by a lock, for example, by some signatures, let's say keys, for example, sometimes from your smartphone as well. And this seal, for example, shows that this information that is inside this page, for example, is secure. And sometimes we try to open our locks using our smartphones as well. Okay. So but here, mind you, we will be talking about information. For us in cybersecurity, the valuable asset is information. Okay, so the main target will be to protect information against malicious or accidental access. Mind you, this hack or this attack, for example, sometimes happens due to the malicious activities of the hacker. Sometimes due to some accidental access, it could be also possible. So there exist multiple applications of securing assets. When I say asset means information. Okay, so in online banking, this information is extremely crucial. We need to secure it. Okay, from economy perspective, mobile phones, DVDs, players. Okay, uh, all these resources they require information to be protected. And in military also, like imagine if information that need to be shared among a particular agency, if it's this information is shared accidentally or intentionally to a enemy organization, let's say, what will happen? So this information becomes extremely important, and to protect this information is even more important, is of paramount importance. Okay, so how well the information is protected? Not too well, actually. So the point is, we sometimes it is because in cybersecurity, humans are considered to be the weakest link. So because of these human errors, for example, most of the time, we live in the false sense of security. Okay, we have already secured our system, but actually it was not, to be honest. So imagine here, for example, you can see two figures. One figure shows that a broken, for example, lock was found on the door. It was not well locked. Another table shows you the passwords that people use, for example, to secure their laptops or secure their mobile phones, for example. So you see, for example, simple passwords, they make the life of a attacker easier. So, in order to protect our resources, we must use extremely complex passwords, and we always take care of applying the security correctly. Sorry. So, what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is actually the way of protecting these information systems. Okay, practice of protecting information systems Networks and data from unauthorized access. What is this unauthorized access? It means if someone else who is not supposed to access this network or resource is able to access it, okay? Use it, for example, or damage it. Okay, so basically, cybersecurity is the practice of protecting all these things. Okay, ensuring that all these steps they don't happen. Now, cybersecurity provides three basic principles. It works on three basic principles: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We will talk about these concepts in the next slide as well. So, cybersecurity is extremely essential by providing these three, measures: confidentiality, integrity, and availability of digital assets. It it ensures us to safeguard privacy, safety, and trust of individuals. Okay, cybersecurity also faces some challenges and risks as well. The point is, we are living in an age where increasing where the networks are increased exponentially, and the connectivity of cyber systems and infrastructures are growing rapidly. Okay, so number one. Number two, for example, the gap of a cyber skills and resources, it is increasing. That's why cybersecurity field will be a hot topic these days. Okay, so cybersecurity requires basically the expertise in multiple domains, like I told you before, in machine learning, in cybersecurity, in Linux, for example, in penetration testing. So the point is, we this cybersecurity is just not a easier technique. It requires a holistic and proactive approach. It should involve multiple stakeholders, disciplines, domains as well. Now, since cybersecurity provides confidentiality, integrity, and availability, I need to define them. What is confidentiality? Confidentiality assures that the information that you are getting is actually coming from the original person that you are supposed to get the information from, for example. So confidentiality means authenticate person that actually sent you that message, okay? So, and privacy, for example, it assures that individuals or controls, if it is my data, for example, I should have full control on my data or full influence on my data. Okay. Integrity means, if we talk about data integrity, it means that the information and programs are changed only in the specified and authorized manner. What does it mean? It means that from the sender and the receiver, the data that was sent, okay, the data that was communicated should remain unaltered. Okay, it should be the same data that was sent originally and received. Okay, and system integrity means that the system, the platform that you are using, for example, is not used unauthorized. Okay, only authorized person were supposed to use that system. And availability means the system, the network, the machine, okay, that is at your service, for example, should never deny the service to its authorized users. Okay, it should always remain available to its authorized users. Okay, so this is called availability. This CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, is also called a CIA triad. Okay, and it's extremely important to understand from this, understand cybersecurity from this perspective. Now, NIST, this is the CIA triad I was talking about. So actually, it was NIST who actually defined this triad. Okay, so NIST is a national institute of standards and technology. Let's say, if I'm not wrong. So in its FIPS 199 standard, okay, this standard is actually for security categorization of federal information systems. Lists confidentiality, integrity, and availability as three main security objectives. Okay. Apart from these three, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, there exist two other parameters as well. What one is called authenticity. Okay. And what does it means? It means that whatever okay, I do, for example, on the network or on the system, for example, it could be verified and trusted. Okay. This is also added to the CIA triad. And accountability as well. Accountability means be I should be held responsible for what I have done on the network or what I was doing on the computer. It should not I should not be able to deny the fact that I did something. Okay, so accountability has also been added to this important concepts. Now, to be honest, cybersecurity is not as easy as it looks like. Okay, so it is extremely difficult. Why? Because it requires multiple skills across multiple domains. Okay, so one of the challenges, like while developing the mechanisms, potential attacks, often unexpected, must be considered. Okay, so when we are developing some solutions, for example, some systems, we could take care. We should take care about unexpected attacks. But how we are not sure, like how we can which attack we could expect. Okay, so the procedure used to provide particular services are often counterintuitive. Okay. And the security mechanism typically involve more than a particular algorithm or protocol. Okay. And also they require participants to have secret information, which could lead to the issue of creation. Who is going to create that information, distribute that information, and protect that secret information? So this way, cybersecurity is facing a lot of challenges. So what what are the threats that cybersecurity is supposed to tackle? But before that, we need to understand what exactly is a cyber threat. Okay, so a cyber threat can exploit any weakness in a system, in a network, in a device, or data. Okay, so any exploit, if there is a exploit or a vulnerability in any computer network, for example, or a device, it could be exploited to mount an attack, to launch an attack. Okay, so this attack is, for example, called cyber threat. Okay, so this threat always remains there if the weaknesses or the vulnerabilities they are not removed. So here you see we have list of multiple cyber threats. In black, you see information gathering, sniffing, DOS, DDoS, password-based attacks, session hijacking, firewalls, and IDS. All these attacks, cyber attacks, for example, they are based on network. So they could be launched from networks. That's why they are called network attacks. These attacks, password cracking, malware attacks, footprinting, backdoor, privilege escalation, code escalation, these are called host attacks. Okay, and injection attacks, for example. And these attacks like injection attacks, SQL injection, phishing, buffer overflow, these are actually termed as application attacks. Okay. Now, common and more emerging threats these days. Have you heard of ransomware? Ransomware actually is a type of a malware that encrypts victims' data and demands a payment for the decryption key. So, what do they do? How do they work? For example, ransomware attackers, they send a malware, for example, and this malware is able to encrypt all the data in the network or in the computer, for example, and ask for a payment, provide you the decryption key. Okay. So, just to mention here, in July 2023, like 6 months ago, ransomware attackers extorted $176 million. Okay, more than the same period in 2022. Here is the link if you want to access this. Okay, so ransomware is the uh, most most severe attack, I would say. Then we have zero-day exploits, a type of attack that exploits unknown or unpatched vulnerabilities in a system or a software. It means that such an attack never existed actually. So And maybe from the developer point of view, that exploit was never seen before. Okay, so zero-day exploits have been used in some of the most notorious cyber attacks. In Stuxnet, this Stuxnet happened in one of the nuclear plant in Iran, and SolarWinds. Okay, SolarWinds is a company. So here I have given you the references as well. You could see. And then on the third number comes DDoS. DDoS is a distributed denial of service attack. Okay, this is a type of attack that floods a system or a network with traffic or requests, multiple requests from multiple nodes. For example, maybe zombies. They are sent to a particular server with the aim to slow it down or make it unavailable. Okay, this we call a DDoS attack. Then phishing, most common. Phishing is the most common attack these days, okay? And actually it's a kind of a social engineering attack that users use, for example, to do fraudulent emails, websites, or trick users into revealing their sensitive information or downloading malware. Okay, even don't mind, even Facebook and Google were tricked out of $100 million as well. So imagine, for example, how smart these guys are. Then we have IoT based attacks. This is also an emerging attack, I would say, that leverages the Internet of Things devices since we are living in the age of IoT. So we have appliances everywhere, especially in the smart home environment where we have cameras and sensors. So these attackers, they could exploit those cameras even by exploit some weaknesses in the network hub, for example, or network router or modem, for example. And they could enter into your bedroom from your camera. So, and sensors as well to launch cyber attacks. IoT-based attacks increased by 100% in 2021 and caused privacy breaches, data theft, and physical harms. You go on this link and read more. Okay. So, current situation in 2023, for example, 48% of the organizations they reported an increase in cyber attacks. So these are actually on the rise. These attacks are on the rise. But the point is 62% believe that majority of the organizations report cyber attacks. So people they actually underreport cyber attacks. And if you could see this figure, I have taken it from internet and the source is mentioned here. You see 190,000 worth of attacks, for example, okay, are occurring per second. So imagine how difficult is the age is now, how difficult, how important actually is to prevent your system, network, resources from attackers. So, who are these attackers? I have said a lot of times attackers, attackers, attackers. Who are these attackers? We call them threat actors. And these threat actors, for example, they could be black hat. You might have heard about this black hat, white hat, for example, script kiddie or state sponsored hacker, hacktivist, for example. These are all categories of attackers. Okay. So these attackers, for example, if you want me to define them, these black hat hackers, for example, of course, their aim is to perform malicious activities also without letting the organization know. Okay. Grey hat hackers perform good or bad activities, but do not have the permission of the organization they are hacking against. Okay. So sometimes they do that thing for good purpose as well, but without getting the permission from the organization they are targeting. And hat hackers actually, they are called ethical hackers. They use their skills to improve security by exposing vulnerabilities before malicious hackers. So here, white hat hackers or ethical hackers, they talk to a company or organization, take the permission, for example, and then try to hack their network, their systems, their resources, just to find out the vulnerabilities. Okay, so we are here, white hat hackers. Skills means like imagine unskilled person or just a student trying different scripts or program to do something he likes or she likes, for example. State sponsored hacker, this is extremely dangerous. So because he will have all the resources available from the government. So this kind of hacker, for example, is extremely extremely dangerous. So they are hired by government or entity related. These are called state-sponsored hackers. Then comes hacktivist. So hacktivist means one who hacks a system for a cause, let's say political agenda. Okay, so these are called hacktivists. Now, these threat actors can have different motives, capabilities, and resources, like I mentioned. State-sponsored hackers, for example, they will have more capabilities. They will have more resources available. Okay, and they have more sophisticated and customized support, more sophisticated malwares and exploit available at their services. Okay, so idea is to tell you that these threat actors, for example, have multiple motivations. Cyber criminals, mainly they are motivated by money, so most of the time money. For hacktivists, for example, they are motivated by social or political issue. In terms of capabilities, they have different capabilities. State-sponsored hackers, for example, they are expert in their field, let's say. And in resources, for example, also like imagine I study, or for example, I student of cybersecurity, you know, would not have enough resources as compared to the resources of a state-sponsored hacker, for example. So sometimes changing profiles also work. Sometimes non-state actors become, state actors, for example. So changing profiles and state actors, this is also a relatively new topic that deals with the evaluation and impact of non-state actors in the global area, especially in relation to conflict and security issues. Okay. So the growing role of non-state actors is changing the political, security, economic, and social environment. I refer to this link, for example, if you are interested to read more. Stakeholders wanted why and how European Union organizations, agencies involve non-state actors. Okay, so now we have talked about what does security mean. Then we have talked about cybersecurity. Then we have different cyber attacks. Then who could attack us? Attackers. Now it's the time to understand attack vector. Okay, what is an attack vector? So this attack vector is actually a path. Hacker could take, for example, to gain access to a host or a network. Okay, so in order to deliver a payload or a malicious outcome, for example. So advanced persistent attacks, APTs, okay, these attacks, these are advanced level state-sponsored attacks, and these attacks typically use zero-day attacks. Okay, most of the times they use zero-day attacks. Then we have cloud computing and cloud-based techniques. They also look for the flaw in client applications, for example, and access the client data. Another attack vector is viruses, worms, malwares, ransomware. So imagine, for example, if you receive a link, phishing link, for example, and there is a malware or ransomware, okay, appended to that link, for example. So it's very common. It's very common. Or imagine you are downloading a file, and that file, who will check if that file is a benign file or is a malware, for example. So these this is also a emerging tech vector. Viruses and worms are the most prevalent networking threats that are capable of infecting a network within seconds, very quick. Then we have web application threats like SQL injection, cross-site scripting. Okay, so these are attack vectors. There could be many more. Okay, attack vectors that attacker could exploit, for example, to reach out to your network, to your resources. Now, how to avoid these attacks? This is extremely important. Okay, mitigation is extremely important, but without going in detail, I would list down here top 5 best practices that you could do, for example, to have your network secured. First, implement strong password policies. Now, imagine, for example, your router or the modem that is connected with the internet service provider. Have you ever checked what is the username or a password on that modem is? In most of the cases, it's admin. I don't know. So the point is, if the pass username and the password on your modem that connects you to ISP, for example, has admin as username and password. How will you be able to protect your home, for example, from attackers? So implement strong password policies. I'm saying not just to the end users, but also to the network users, network administrators, people those are working in this domain. And regularly update and change passwords to enhance security. So this is also a common practice that we use these passwords for example, across different applications. So imagine I have a complex password, for example, but I use it across multiple websites, across multiple devices. This is not a good practice as well. So first, here the take home point is your password should be very strong. Number one. Number two, you should have different passwords for different resources. Okay. Now, second point is like best practices is page management. Okay, you might have heard about this page management. So sometimes what happens is like organizations, they have, let's say, created operating system or a program, but there was a zero day vulnerability in it. So they take some time, for example, to patch that vulnerability. Okay, so and they will force us, for example, to update our operating system or that particular program. This process is called patch management. Now, I must say that this is also extremely important. Okay, keep your program, keep your operating system, or keep whatever needs to be updated. Okay, and regularly update. Don't wait for like last day, for example. As soon as the update is available, make sure that you will update your. Then we should have a secure network infrastructure. Okay, so a network without firewalls, for example, will not be able to save your resources. So use firewalls, intrusion prevention and detection systems, okay, and secure Wi-Fi protocols to protect network integrity. Okay, intrusion detection systems should also be installed. So a common example of intrusion detection, for example, how your system will detect whether intrusion is being done or not. Is there an intrusion at the moment or not? From the network analysis, let's say. Okay, so there should be this system, and this system should, for example, this system should be able to detect whether or not this query that is coming in, for example, is a intrusion query or it's a benign query. Okay, then we have another point that you should segment networks. When I say segment networks, it means the size of the network should be smaller. Okay, so for example, imagine you have a building of 5 floors, let's say, rather than creating a single network for for the entire building, I would divide this entire network into 5 different sub networks. So in segment those networks. This makes attacks a bit difficult. And implement least privilege principles. So give for example, give the internee, let's say, okay, not the privileges of a CEO. Okay, if there is an internee, for example, he should have the access rights of an internee, not of a CEO. So implement least privilege principles and regularly review and update user access permissions. Finally, the most important thing. This is the most important thing that I would say. Educate and train employees. Conduct regular cybersecurity awareness training to employees. You see, that's why they say humans are the weakest link in cybersecurity. So in order to counter this fact, you should educate and train employees very, very well. I'm talking about organizations, and teach them to recognize phishing attempts and other social engineering attempts at least. Okay. So in summary, we said we discussed threats and threat actors in cybersecurity and the differences and similarities among the attackers in terms of goals, capabilities, tactics, techniques, and procedures. We talked about attack vectors as well. We talked about different attacks from network, from host, from application perspective. So, what are the key takeaways from this presentation? The key takeaways are, first of all, cybersecurity is about proactive defense, not just reactive measures. Okay, don't wait for the defense. Okay, be proactive in your defense. This is one thing. Second thing is, cybersecurity is not a responsibility of an individual. Okay, I must say. So this is a shared responsibility of users working in the organization itself, and the community. Continuous improvement as well. Okay, adopt a mindset of continuous improvement in cybersecurity practices by educating and training your employees, by educating and training the ordinary person. They should be able to differentiate. They should be able to respond to these social engineering attacks like phishing. Okay, so thank you so much. In the next video, for example, which will be module 1, session 3, it will be all about introduction to Linux from ethical hacking perspective. So till now, thank you so much for your comments, for your likes, for your engagement. Extremely happy, appreciated. Thank you so much. See you next time.